Hello there, good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt, and it's a warm welcome to yourself back here on the channel for a wee news update, a wee catch up, if we will, because there's actually been movement at Celtic. And as you can see, I am joined by a familiar face, my right hand man, bearded brother. It is Paddy Boy. It's great to see you, Paddy. It's great to have you back on. How you keeping, mate? I know you are still out at work.
Yeah, still in the middle of the North Sea, sitting in my wee cabin at the minute. Looks like a jail cell, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm out here. I'm plodding along. Nice to see a bit of movement for Celtic. Spoke to a few fans on here as well, and yeah, a wee bit of excitement going around, which is pretty decent.
Absolutely decent, and I am aware that you may well cut off. It's fine. You just join back in as and when, but it's good whilst we've got you here. We're just going to do a wee whistle stop tour and try and rip through this one. So let's crack on as we do. But before we do, the wee housekeeping. But as always at the start, you know this by now. Welcome to the channel. If you're a continued subscriber, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We're trying to push towards 2,000 with the kick-off of the new season. We're just over 1,700. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Costs you nothing, absolutely nothing, and it helps grow the channel. Hopefully we can do that before the start of the new season. If you want, you can help out. Donation, members, $1.99 per month, and it just helps put it all together, as is San Fran Celtic, who's in one of the members. Thank you very much. It's good to have you here, mate. Hope you're doing well. Get us on X, Spotify, Blue Sky, Spotify on the move. That is it. So, Paddy, let's get down to business, because finally we've got our first bona fide real summer transfer. Kieran Tierney was a pre-agreement. We knew it was coming, and it was a high-grade, high-quality signing. Benjamin Nygren joins us from Northern. It was long overdue. We wondered, were they trying to push it down the line for the financial reasons? But I think they just maybe saw the reaction to that new third kit and thought, we better give them something to smile about.
Yeah, probably something along the lines, mate. But this is one I'm quite excited about. This is a signing for me that I think we've been looking for. Obviously, it looks kind of imminent that Nicholas Kuhn's going to be leaving. There's a lot of interest, obviously, from Leipzig and things like that, which, to be fair, is granted after he played an absolute blinder against them. But listen, it is what it is. If we can sell Nicholas Kuhn for anything up to, what was it, between 12 and 15 million, and we've got a replacement in for next to nothing when you think about it. And this lad's a Swedish international. We've always done well with Swedes, Big Mistorovic included in that as well. So, listen, it's the Swedish guys have always done us proud, and it's nice to have somebody in there that's going to bring a wee bit more to the club.
Yes,
like you said, he plays certain positions as well, doesn't he? Kind of floats in and out. So
that's the thing. I think there's a wee bit of confusion around what his actual position is. He gets sort of billed as a right winger, but very versatile. He can play across the attacking line, left. He can play at right. He can play. They've tried to deploy him as a striker, kind of thinking what we done with James Forrest a wee while ago. It wasn't quite. It was a diminished return, shall we say? But he can also play in the midfield as part of that right-sided, even though I believe he's a left footer, playing alongside that right side. But he can also play in the 10. Very, very versatile. I keep saying it. The one thing that he reminds me of is Chris Commons. I see a lot of Chris Commons in him. He's not blessed with blistering pace. He's not that kind of guy, but he has a great eye for a pass, and he's got a good eye for goal as well. And I believe that he likes a wee bit of a set piece as well. So these are the kind of versatility that we need. And as you say, a Swedish international. You can't go wrong with that. We've had some great Swedes over the years. Larsson's the top one, but let's just ask the question, Paddy, if it wasn't Larsson, who's your other favourite Swede that's played for Celtic? Because there has been many.
Mikael Lustig for me. The guy wore his heart on his sleeve. Absolutely warhorse. He was the one for me. Like you say, we've had a good few guys in there, John Guidetti and Daniel Mice, that. But
Johan Mjällby.
Mjällby as well. But nah, it's got to be Lustig for me. What about you?
No, I'm going to be, you know, you've got me on Lustig. A wee soft spot for him, but I did like Big Mjällby. I did like a big Dolph Lundgren, you know, no nonsense, straight in about it, an absolute powerhouse. I like a wee bit of that. But San Francisco, one thing is, Lustig was good for a crack. When he winding them right up, and I was one of the guys that they hated. So I think you'll always get brownie points for that. Whereas you'll also get brownie points for the fact that Mjällby just like to batter them. So, yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we have managed to keep, there we go, a bit of Mjällby love. Hopefully we keep on that sort of good track record that we've had to the Swedes. I mean, some of them were missed, but then they were over the hill. I'm looking at you, Freddie Lundberg. It was terrible.
Oh, yeah, definitely. When he came in as well, we were absolutely buzzing. Obviously, ex-Arsenal player, and he was phenomenal for them. And he came to Celtic, and I thought, oh, this could be a good one. But yeah, that didn't quite work out, did it? That was
Well, that's it. Hopefully, Benji, that we call him Nygren, Benji, doesn't matter.
Call him
Either
Benji.
way.
We'll call him Benji.
And he's taking on a good number 8. Hopefully,
Seen
again, we're getting a nice run, a good top quality number 8s. Scott Brown, Kyogo, that guy had that last time. He didn't do too bad with that number either. So hopefully he keeps up that tradition, or recent tradition, of solid number 8s that we've had there. But no, I'm excited about this one, and I like the cut his jib. I know when you get that standard sit down, it's usually, oh, tell us what you've heard about Celtic and all that, and you're going to miss Sweden with the piss and rain to come with the piss and rain. It was none of that stuff. But I liked how he was quite direct. They ask him the standard stuff, what do you like to do? And we've seen about how he likes to create. He spoke about wanting to be a winner. But what I did like is he mentioned his body of work as a player. I have played over 200 professional senior games. Yep, that's what I want, and that is what we need. And I think we've managed to get a guy, as you say, folk will look at the price and they'll look at the Nicholas Kuhn situation, and they'll probably say along the lines of, oh, it's cheaping out. One out, loads of money in, get a cheap replacement. However, let's not lose sight of this. This is nothing to do with bargain basement. This was being opportunist. This guy had months left on his contract, and the club had no choice. It was a take what you're given, or he walks. And they took that 1.7 million, I believe it was, when, let's be honest, if he had a year plus whatever on his contract, for a guy that's standard, international, etc., you're probably going to be looking at about that £5 million pocket. So it's just for once good business rather than tightness, is it not?
Yeah, I think so, mate. And let's be honest as well, this isn't going to be a direct replacement for Nicholas Kuhn. This is a player who's coming in and he offers a bit more, he's a bit different to Nicholas Kuhn for me. He's, like you said before, Steve, he's not going to be busting down the wing. He's not got the pace to be doing that, but he's going to bring more. He's going to bring more people into the game. He's got an eye for a pass, like you say. They can take a set piece. We've all watched the fabled YouTube videos, and you see him cracking about 3 or 4 free kicks. Now, I don't know how many he's scored over his career. It might be that 3 or 4 that I've seen, but do you know what? They look decent. They look good, and that's something that we've been lacking. It's something that Celtic, in my opinion, really need. So for me, this guy coming in is a great start to the transfer window.
Well, fantastic start. I'm just browsing the stats super quick here. 62 goals, 20 assists, not too shabby, and certainly looking at 24 to 25 season there, where he registered 16 goals and 4 assists. That's the kind of numbers that we want. Again, I don't know too much about the Danish league, the standard of it, but he is a pivotal player for them. He's obviously putting out good numbers, and again, maybe it's of a similar standard in Scotland. Maybe it is not as good. Who knows? I don't know enough about the Danish league, but he's getting his game. He's getting his place in that Sweden squad. And as you can't say fair on that. That shows a bit of talent. That shows a bit of consistency. And this is the kind of player that we've won. And again, as well, I know it's generalising, but some players that we've brought in, I'm looking at Louis Palma, I'm looking at Haksabanovic. There's a lot of players that, let's face it, the Scottish environment, the sort of robustness of the league, even, dare I say it, the weather can affect these guys. Literally, you will get fair weather players. And he laughed and did joke about that, but he's like, well, the weather's pretty much similar for where I came from in Sweden, and obviously in, over Denmark. I'm kind of used to this kind of weather. So again, take that as you find it. That's a positive.
100%, mate. You look at these players. How many times have we turned around and said, yeah, you can do it in the Champions League, but can you do it in a pissing down rainy day in Dingwall? Do you know what I mean? That's the end of the day. That's your bread and butter. Livingston have just done their new pitch. It's the top of the range, new 4G, 5G, 10G, whatever you want to call it. This fantastic pitch. I seen Martindale talking about it the other day, saying that it's going to be better than Falkirk's. Now, if you remember back, I actually spoke about Falkirk's pitch when I was on here and said that having a chance to be down there and be on the park and actually see it, it's a decent enough park, decent enough grass. even though it is the artificial. But if Livy's is going to be an upgrade on that, then that's decent. But back to what I'm saying, it's good for Nygren to have that. You're not bringing in these players that can't play when it's too cold. They're out there with the Under Armour on and the gloves on and whatever. I want players like Scott Brown and Kieran Tierney that, regardless of the weather, are going to be swanning about just for the shorts and the t-shirts. You know what I mean? That's what I want.
Well, we'll see what he's got. You know, pre-season's upon us, and it's good. Yeah. This is the main thing. This is the positive. Now, again, we'll get on briefly to the Nicholas Kuhn situation because he might well not be around, right? But the reality is, regardless of whether he's going to be a replacement or whether he's going to be an addition, getting him in before all the pre-season stuff kicks off, letting them hit the ground, integrate, particularly looking towards that Champions League qualifier, that is what is important. That is the benefit here. As we say, what's going to happen with Kuhn will remain to be seen. That one will probably pan out over the next week or so, I'd imagine. But it's good to at least have him in the building, and that's what we're asking for. Early signs. We were sort of thinking to ourselves, is it going to be waiting until, as we said, the new financial year so we can offset it on the books and that kind of stuff? Maybe. But he's in, he's ready to go, and certainly he sounded like he was up for it. And that's as much as I want to see. And he fits the profile and he fits the standard of player that we need. So yes, I'm full on board with you, Paddy. I like the look of this one, and hopefully it is the start of a wee bit of movement. Because I was on the other night with Liam, and we were sort of saying we're flipping and flopping. What seemed to be really dialed in, really sort of with this, and this, started to look a bit flipping and flopping around. You know, are we huffing and puffing? Well, the guy that we knew he was coming, but boom, there you go. Straight have a wee bit of that at the earliest possible. So hopefully, and we've got a wee bit of updates on maybe some movement in and out of the club, that's going to set us in good stead moving forward, mate.
Yeah, exactly, mate. It's fantastic. We always say it. We always want the business to be done nice and early. We had said it on here before. You had asked me when I thought the first signing was going to be. I said 1st of September, just as the transfer window's about to end. But yeah, listen, it's for me. You look at what we've done. We've brought in obviously the young keeper as well, Doohan, and we've brought in is it the boy Osman for Fulham?
Yeah, so, that's another one. I was quite surprised, to be honest, that wasn't announced in conjunction with the Nygren signing. I thought that we all knew that one's going to be happening. Whether that's just tying up final sort of negotiations with Fulham because they'll be due that cross-border, maybe it's just, what that amount is. But that is pretty much going to happen. I don't have any sweat around that, mate.
Yeah, no, definitely not, mate. It's all good. It's looking good for us for a change. We're getting everything done. Pretty sharpish. Get the business done.
To move on real quick then, because it's going to beg the question, isn't it? One in, is it one in, one out? Nicholas Kuhn, I see quiet, pretty much solid kicker in Germany. We all know the score. They're the Sky Sports, the ESPN, if you will, over there. Very, very reputable, saying that's all but ready going to be at RB Leipzig, about £15 million there. So it's about 17 million euros. But there was a wee curveball thrown in where apparently one of our pre-season game opponents, Como, are also meant to be interested. But that, again, took another wee twist because they seem to have lined up one or two players that would maybe fit that Nicholas Kuhn mould. So it may well not happen. The most likely destination does appear to be Nicholas Kuhn. I've not had a chance to speak to you about that one. I spoke to Liam about it the other night. Where are you at with it, Paddy? I don't want to tread over old ground and drag this out and it to be another story. Oh, here we go, talking about Nicholas Kuhn again. But I've been listening to various outlets, I'll always watch and go and check out. There's a lot of good content out there. Go and check out the rest of the guys and girls and everybody that's doing Celtic podcasting. Plenty to discuss. But whenever it's been brought up, I keep hearing this because we've mentioned it. Oh, you get all the body language experts. Everybody's a body language expert. Yeah. He's played a lot of games. When you look at his career, he's never played that many games and so on and so forth. Now, where I'm at with this, I don't understand why people voicing that opinion, he doesn't look happy, he doesn't look settled. There's anything wrong with that. You would say that if you looked at your pal or a family member or a work colleague. You can tell when somebody doesn't, look like their head's in the game. It shouldn't be any different because they're a professional footballer. You know, you're just saying what you can see. And I do understand when you look at his career and you look back, he's not had a season quite as hectic and busy and amount of games rammed in, game, big games, big expectancy. So yes, that might tire him out. But then the flip end that always comes is you're a professional athlete, for God's sake. Get on with it.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying about the consistency being that his first half of the season would carry on every game and he's ending on a 45, 50 goal season. I'm not saying that after the amount of games that he plays. But what I'm saying is, and I mentioned the other day, I like the phrase that I heard was he had an incredibly high potential ceiling, but a low floor. There was no middle ground. The bads were bad and the highs were high. And I just think that for whatever reason, listening to folk like us, media, head turned with a potential move that in January. There is various factors, but there's no doubt in my mind that when he came back, Paddy, he didn't look like a guy whose head was in the game.
No, it definitely didn't. Like you said, you highlighted the fucking start of the season. He was absolutely incredible. He was flying. Assists, goals, here, there and everywhere. He didn't really have many bad games. And then kind of after the Leipzig game and the Bayern Munich game, he's seen a bit of a change in him. He's seen the kind of drop. Like you say, whether that's down to tiredness, whether that's down to game time or whatever, you could see. But for me, I think his head was turned. I think there's maybe been something said when he was out in Germany. We'll be coming for you in the summer. Or, do you know, a wee kind of a wee comment made by one of the managers or something, or do you not fancy coming home and redoing it again and bring yourself back? So, do you know what I mean? That to me, I think's probably what's going to happen.
There's something I want to pick your brain on, and again, this goes to yourselves, those that are watching the comments. I want to know your thoughts on this. When you look at Nicholas Cunha, I'm not going to sit here and criticise the guy. I've said my piece, but I think he looked at a guy who, for whatever reason, had his head turned and he faded. Yeah. And again, Liam hits this. He said this the other day, and I really, really do think it's very valid. He was the golden boy. He was the franchise player. He was the poster boy for Celtic for a long period. Then Jota came back and with the and it genuinely was. It was like when, you know, a family have a wean, and then a new one comes along and they're sort of noses a wee bit out of joint. Aye, it genuinely was like that, and it's so kind of funny and true to life. Where you go, that's actually a pretty good point, by the way. And we like to sit here and think, well, they're professionals and they're grown men, but footballers, a lot of them are egomaniacs. Let's be honest. You know, it's about their brand and. You know, 1 minute you're hot shit, and then the next minute, you know, you're still very well loved and respected, but the excitement factor about you isn't there. And then he get dropped, and it was Joe, and he came on, he scored the goal. And again, look, I know it's small things, but Liam says maybe he's not a huge team player, and I think that when you watch him, I'm not expecting you to have a big Ismaila Soro smile every time you're playing. Do you know what I mean? But he's still at Celtic. He seems a peculiar character, a bit of an enigma. You don't know where you're getting. The amount of smiles and happiness on his face are short, but he did look a wee bit out of sorts there. But I've digressed off. When you look at his career trajectory, he's a bit of a nomad. He never really stays in place.
Never stuck anywhere.
He never really cements his place at a team and becomes the man. He's moving about, and I know that some of the teams he's been playing at, you're like, God, you're not going to break into that team. But what my point being is maybe he's just one of these guys that moves about and he can't ever really truly settle, where he has good form and then patchy form, but it's always good enough to get him that next move. That's where I'm at with him.
Yeah, it could be. I like the idea of Liam where he's just basically sparked a dummy when Jota's come in. That's... I can kind of see that. When he was dropped as well, obviously he's been reading press and social media and stuff like that. When he comes back and he scores a goal and he goes, I don't like that stuff. That's like Louis Palmer with the resilience and all that kind of stuff.
To jump in on that, Paddy, I don't want to cut you, but just to jump in, I kind of don't. These guys are, you know, they're human beings at the end, and I get it.
Of course they are.
I do get it, but I also do think that it can potentially be a bit of a slippery slope. Because for everybody, like we're saying here and going, I can understand it, human emotion. There'll be a big body of folk that won't like that.
Yeah, I'm in the boat that I don't really like it. I don't think it's acceptable as a footballer to bite the hand that feeds you to say something like that. It's just the way he acted for me when he scores a goal. Celebrate it, enjoy your moment. Right, you've
Mhm.
just basically silenced that part of the fan base that thought you weren't good enough, or that thought that you had dropped off and that you weren't interested. So for me, he should have just celebrated it better. And
Mhm.
aye, listen, he was a cracking player, absolutely fantastic player. Would I like to keep him alongside Nygren and other players that might be coming in? Yes, I would. But
Mhm.
by
Yep.
all accounts, it looks like he's off to Leipzig. So
And as has been said
I
in the
wish him all the best.
comments, potentially he may well be sold after the qualifier. I think if Celtic are going to do it, I think that's the time to do it. I definitely agree that I think it looks like he will move on 100%. Leipzig probably the most likely destination, but I do think
Mhm.
that if we can just get that wee tiny bit of investment out of him, the word in his ear and say, listen, this is a huge game for us. We've given
Mhm.
you that platform. You've played there for us. We're going to move you on, but we need you. We just need one last push. Get us into this
Yeah,
Champions League. Help us go over it, because strength and depth on the bench in the squad. Yes, we might add to that. Hopefully we do. But to have all these guys still in place, it kind of eases the blow a wee bit if you get yourself secured. And then you say, right, on you go, big man, up the road, or wee man, he's not that big, isn't he? Get on you
he's quite
go,
smart.
back over to Germany, enjoy it. And then obviously men add to the squad again. But I think if we can get him on board to at least do that and stick around, then that'd be a good sign off for him, and certainly give us something to cheer about before he leaves, if he leaves.
Yeah. How does that work with the Champions League if he does play
Oh,
for
but
us and then
it'll just be simple registration, because it's not
is it?
for group. It's not like he's playing the group with it as well.
Okay.
We're also doing a transfer window as well. So you would declare your squads for the qualifying period. Then once the group propers come in, you'll declare your squad. There will be intervals where it kicks down the line. I don't know
Mhm.
where Leipzig, I think they probably instantly qualify for it anyway.
I would
So it wouldn't
imagine
really
so.
matter for them anyway. But if you're at a club that say has to qualify, there'll be wee intervals at various points of the qualification where you can register players and remove players and so on. Because particularly during the transfer window, it's sort of fluid and it moves about. So there'd be no problem there anyway. That,
Yeah.
but as we say, we'll see how that one goes with them. In terms of other news, I just want to quickly pivot because I think it's quite funny. We'll get some movement on actual players. But did you see the David Murray with Ewan Cameron interview? He's obviously trying to, sell his book. Metal, it's called. A wee play on them, Murray Metals and all that. I get it. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, he's come out. He's come out in the same way that Michael Bublé comes out his wee cave at Christmas. He's come out his wee cave and showing his face because he's trying to get some sort of attention and to sell books. He goes after Celtic and he goes after Pedro Wall. Did you see this? Apparently, it was Pedro Wall's absolute mission to, quote, bury Rangers. I'm pretty sure him and Craig White done that in 2012, did they not?
Yeah, of course he did. When he sold his so-called beloved club for £1 to a so-called South African millionaire who was going to bring in this raft of changes, I think he pretty much put the final nail in the coffin himself. He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Peter Lawwell, in my opinion, done a fantastic job and runs Celtic extremely well as a business. Now, yes, we've spoke about it so many times. It's frustrating, especially during transfer windows when we're screaming for players and they're saying, "No, we can't go that extra 0.2 of a million to bring this guy in," and things like that. But yeah, if you look back to the COVID season when they finally did win a league, um, I think if Celtic were going to bury them, that would have been the season to do so.
Mhm.
That
Yes.
would have been the one where you just go, yeah, do you know what? Let's pump in 10 million,
Mhm.
20 million, and put them to the sword. I think that would have been the one if he was actually going to
Mhm.
do that. But I think David Murray's just thrown that name out there to try and, like you said, sell a few books.
His punch is,
Um,
yep, to sell his book.
yeah,
Controversy will always court attention, and
of course
but
it
I
will.
just found it funny, and
Yeah.
to some extent he does make a valid point in terms of, we all knew at the time Pedro was fluffing the nest. He was getting involved with UEFA and all that kind of stuff, and he became a figurehead. And he said that he wielded too much power. Well, I find that kind of a bit funny. And in the same way that we were talking about perhaps his nose, Jota putting the nose of Nicholas Kuhn out of joint, I kind of feel that when Celtic started to become a powerhouse, it maybe put his nose out of joint, because you always remember, don't you? You always remember that in the height of his sort of arrogance, and every $5 they spend, we'll do a tenner. And we've all seen that. Do you ever remember the interview where he says, "Oh, this will become a regular occurrence at Rangers. We'll be signing big players." You remember that interview? Well, he used to like to hold court. He liked to be the man. He liked to be the man that was wielding power over all the journals and all the lackeys. And as he became insignificant and he saw someone else doing that, he probably didn't like it. I think there's a wee bitterness in him about that, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, mate. You absolutely nailed it there. The word insignificant, that's pretty much sums him up completely to myself. I don't know how Rangers fans feel about him. They're probably in the same kind of boat, because he left them to die. He left them to go away and resurrect themselves as a new club.
And that is the thing. He can't. I like the excuses where he says he thought it was good, and you can criticise for the sidelines, but I've played the game. I just find it really funny. But the one thing is, going after Peter Law, I thought was funny. Now, we're not going to sit here and praise Peter Law, right? He's got many flaws, right? Many flaws.
Yeah.
But one thing that I will say is Peter Law has done us a good turn. And I don't know if you saw the fruits of how well Celtic have been ran. From a business standpoint, I will say, where Celtic found themselves on a list where they were number 9 in football across Europe for most sustainably ran clubs. Huge. It just shows you how well we are doing. That list was published, and I think I can only really think of Man City that were above us. Believe it or not, you would think that, they just got rich owners, but no, they're a very viable, sustainable business, it would appear, and they were one of the big names that were in there. But Celtic were on that list, on the top 10, and it's just testament to how well that we are ran. And you'll not see any Murray-esque pounds getting rolled across the desk at Celtic, unlike him. But no, funny. And as you say, Paddy, I just want to nail that home before we move on. If he really truly did want to bury Rangers, we would have done it before Rangers Part 2 came back into the league, because we did penny pinch. We did keep to that mantra of just be a step ahead of the domestic competition, when really we should have went, league's a formality, how well can we do in Europe during that point? But he didn't do it.
Yeah.
So he didn't really truly want to kill them, did he?
Nah, definitely not. In my opinion, Peter Law was just running the club. He's doing what's best for Celtic. And obviously that's helped with the demise of the other side of Glasgow. Yeah,
I might watch some of that. It's Ewan Cameron. You couldn't have picked a worse guy to interview him. But again, we talk about jobs for the boys at Celtic. It appears that interview was jobs for the brogues. So it's probably quite suitable. And I'll maybe listen to it just to hear some bitterness and greeting and why it all went wrong and rewriting history. I might watch it just for a laugh, but there's plenty of things that come out here. And of course, I still like the fact that he is pushing the narrative that they still didn't do anything wrong with the EBTs, and that, they by their understanding, they were doing it wrong. Sporting integrity goes out the window. And again, just as a side note, is it time to bring back the campaign for strip the titles? Because he's bringing it back out into the open, isn't he? He's opening the conversation again.
Well, he started it. He's blaming Peter Lawwell for pretty much everything that's ever went wrong with his club. So, aye, that's it. Strip them. Let them know they no longer stand. Always cheated, never defeated.
And do you know what I would say about that, just to finish up? The strip the titles thing. I don't even want awarded them, by the way. I don't.
I know, nah.
I just rather a big black score through it and a wee asterisk saying no winner due to breach of rules. Because everybody know who it is. I'd rather that than getting handed at some sort of pity title. And anyway, once you wipe off that, their fabled accumulative records in the bin anyway, it doesn't really make any difference. We don't need the extra ones to be taken over them. We've already done that by our own means, by not cheating. So I'm all right with that, Paddy. Happy days.
Yeah. Aye, definitely, man. Long may it continue.
Exactly. So anyway, aside for that circus, let's crack on, because there's been a wee talk about a movement. We've been rattling on about the peripheral players. Two random ones. One, first of all, is of course, what about the rise of O? Because Feyenoord want to buy O, and they've
Seen
funded
this.
10 million
Yeah.
for him. And of course, Celtic will have a nice wee wedge out of that as well. A wee selling for that. Rewriting
If
history,
you'd have
mate.
told me, if you'd have told me last year that we were going to get a selling clause for O, I'd have laughed in your face. I'd have said nobody's going to buy that. Absolute dafty. The guy came in, and do you know what? He scored a few goals, but it was nothing to what we were looking for. I'm trying to think of words to like not really put the guy down as much, but you can't really talk him up really. Scored a couple of important goals, but listen, if somebody's going to willing to come in and pay 10 million for him, then I'll happily take a wee wedge off of that.
I mean, looking at O, we can sit and rewrite history. I think sometimes there's just guys that it doesn't work out for. Do you think he was given, honestly, do you think he was given a fair crack at the whip at Celtic? Now, I've looked at his stats at Genk. They're not amazing. They're not like, oh my God, and I can see why Feyenoord want to offer you 10 million for him, but he's getting more game time. There's a lot of substitutes appearance, but they want to keep him now because I believe they get an injury to one of their key strikers, and they're looking for him to step up and take the mantle. But as he did with us, he was maybe getting 10, 15 minutes, the occasional start here. And
Yeah.
by all accounts, he done not too bad when you look at the limited time he had at Celtic. I don't necessarily know if he was given too much a fair crack at the whip. I think at that time, with what was ahead of him, it was highly unlikely that it was going to work out for him. If you were to teleport him, again, rewriting history, if you were to teleport him into what we had, say, for example, the tail end of that season there, where we just had Maeda, and it was like, Kenny, he does not really doing it, but he probably got a lot more time, probably have got more chances, and he might have scored some goals here. But yeah, I think his returns to minutes on the pitch is decent, it's respectable, but I'm surprised that Feyenoord are come calling for him.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of like what you said there as well. I agree. If he was in this kind of squad, I think he'd have had more chances, because obviously we relied on Diaz Maeda quite a lot. And I think when he was out, obviously after Kyogo left, he'd kind of stepping up to be the main man. I think O would maybe get a wee chance in there. I think he'd have been relied on a little bit more. And I don't know whether you'd have seen a bit of a player or anything like that. But listen, he was a big enough lad. International, he's had a few caps now as well, isn't he? So he's doing what he's doing. Listen, good luck to the boy. I'm happy to take the money.
I think when we look at it, it was a decent. It was fail safe. There was no risk attached to him. We took a punt. We got him. We played. He scored some decent goals. He had some all right games. He had some terrible games. We sold him. We made a profit, and of course now it looks as if we're going to get at some stage down the line sell on. So it is what it is. It's as just says, as Graham Martin saying there, it's just is what it is. And I'll throw that one out there. But I found that really interesting, because Celtic are still generating money for all these sources that are coming about. You know, we get the Frimpong money, there could be the O money coming in. Don't know if Paddy is frozen right now, but I'll just keep on cracking on anyway. But I'll take him away now just to let him get himself sorted. But one of the other ones that I found that was quite interesting as well as came out was talk of guys moving out. Already at the building, some extra money coming in. There's money coming in left, right, centre. We're getting money coming in the tail end of the Champions League stuff will be due to fall into our banks. There'll obviously be tops, and we'll go on to tops. But Lager Bielka is the next one who looks like he is likely to move on. Tell us what your thoughts on Lager Bielka are. I don't think he's a guy that's really had any comeback. I didn't really see that it was going to work out for him. We all know he was out there at 20. They quite liked what they fancied, and they actually were wanting to keep him around. But there's been a complete out of nowhere decision on him as well, where Twente are maybe cooling their interest a wee bit. There's talk that they're going to go back in for Robin Proper from Rangers. So a bit of a strange one. Maybe they see him as being, I don't know, cheaper perhaps, because we know that Rangers want to offload him than Lager Bielka. Now, Celtic were wanting to get about 3 million for him, I believe. And Braga from Portugal, who we are all well versed in, have thrown out a wee bid of £1.7 million for him. I mean, I'm not against that. We're taking a wee bit of a hit. Of course, Celtic are going to have to potentially take 1.3 less than they wanted for him. But it's all about moving on the deadwood, and there's no doubt about it. He is the deadwood. You know, throughout the course of this year, he managed to get himself in the frame, and he was part of a Sweden squad again, which you could argue might help boost his reputation and his value. But I don't really think with guys like Lagerbielke, we're really in a strong position to dig in the heels and try to negotiate and play hardball. I think it's just imperative to try and get these guys off the books. He's back. He's back.
Hey.
Not like Rangers, because they aren't actually back, but Paddy's back. And we're talking about Lagerbielke, Paddy, as we say. At 20, wee bit of interest seems to have sort of faded a bit. Braga, 1.7 million, they're thrown at it. He is very interested in taking it. It's about 1.3 million less than perhaps Celtic wanted, but beggars can't be choosers here. I think you just got to get these guys away early and off the books, have you not?
100%, mate. Listen, last time we looked at this last transfer window and you were talking about guys like James McCarthy and Timoki Awata and all of these other lads. For me, Lagerbielke is one of the guys. He's taking a wage. You cut the wage off, you take whatever you're given for him, whether that be 1.5 million or 3 million or whatever. You take it and you reinvest it. What are we talking? 1.5, 1.7, did you say there? That's Benjamin.
1.7. That's
exactly Benjamin Nygren paid for.
That's that. But yeah, I think that Lagerbielke is just a guy that I don't really see there being a comeback on him, to be honest. Regardless, he's been playing solidly for 20. It's just not going to happen. And as much as I like, and I'm using it as an example, as much as I like what I see with Malik Narodsky, see if somebody comes in and offers you, and they've reached a £2 million for him as well, you just take it. Because I don't think, as has been shown, Lagerbielke out on loan in the Eredivisie, playing for a good team in Twente, good performances regular, got into a Sweden squad. This is what you're getting offered, 1.7 million. Narodsky going on loan to the team that are fourth best in Poland, for example, and maybe on a season there, isn't suddenly going to skyrocket his value. Sometimes you've just got to cut the losses on it, and with all the money that's coming in from my other sources, I'm happy to take a loss on these guys, mate. Happy yourself.
Yeah, listen, look at other teams are doing it. Rennes done it with Kyogo. Look at the last thing we posted with Jota as well.
No, what's happening here?
Chance to buy him pretty cheap as well. So listen, there's loads of clubs out there that actually do it. Like you say, cut the losses. The main one that really stands out, you think back to Man United when they had Alexis Sanchez on their books. They were paying him somewhat 300 grand a week, and basically just cut his contract up and went, listen, mate, it's not happening. Do you know what I mean? We'll offload you somewhere else. And that's what you do. That's how you sustainably run a business, is by not having all of these outgoings.
Well, in terms of one defender who is on the way out, undoubtedly, see you later, Lagerbielke, best wishes, not that kind of thing. One who might still be in the picture to come back in, it was all quiet. Another report came out. Again, unlike the Kuhn reports, I can't really verify the credentials of the reports that are coming out. There was the initial one, which was, seemed fairly reputable and solid, and of course we're just getting drip feed from our UK press following up on it, and that's Milosavljevic from Red Star Belgrade. Now, there was mention that Celtic had tried to get in early. We sort of pre-agreement with the club. It was knocked back. There was talk that they were wanting sort of £7-8 million for the lad, but now there's talk that Celtic have had a £5.1 million bid rejected there, and they're looking around about 6 million for him. So again, if there's a wee drop down in the value, is 17-year-old, as we remember, young Serbian defender playing at Red Star, but also has some experience there. He's been playing a bit of a mainstay for them, doing quite well. But if Celtic are going back for it, then they've got to see something on him, Paddy. Is this one that you would be happy to pursue? I think we had that chat previously where we were saying 90 appearances, young guy, broke into the team. They had him on the bench for the Champions League. They didn't play him. I think that was just a ruse to show and say, look, this guy is the real deal. That's why we've got him around here. But domestically, he was playing regular for them. Any reservations over maybe paying £6 million for a young lad?
Listen, they obviously see something. These people don't pop up for no reason. He's obviously been scouted at some point by one of our team, and if they see something in him, it's a position that we really struggle with. It's a position that I feel that we really need to fill. He's a big lad. He kind of ticks all the boxes when you look at stature, when you look at kind of how he's been playing and things like that. So for me, this is a no-brainer. Pay the £6, take him in.
Barry's saying he looks like a war criminal. He does. He looks a bit mental. I kind of like that. I like threatening looking defenders. I'd go into Celtic Park and shave all the defenders' hairs off.
Look at Big Mastorovic, Anoni, Baldi. You look at these kind of guys. They're scary,
angry looking guys. I want scary guys. That's what I want. Get in there and shave Carl Vickers' hair off. Get that involved as well. But no,
100%, man.
I think this is another one. If Celtic want to chase this guy, we need to go for it. We need to. We're talking again small margins. 5.1 million. They're wanting 6. With all the money they've got in the bank, you just go and do it. Yeah. I do not want to see another summer of, sort of pinching the pennies. We've hit a bargain with Benjamin Nygren. Get him in. If there's a reduction in price for this young chap, get him in. Lager Belka off the books, see you later. 6 million or thereabouts, free grass from Frimpong. We're in a good position. These guys they could pay for themselves pretty much before we've even dipped into it.
Exactly, mate. It's a no-brainer for me. It's a position that we really need to fill, and we need somebody in there that's going to have a wee bit about them. And this lad looks like he's got it.
Absolutely. Well, again, let's segue. We'll quickly zip through the news. The new top, Paddy. Right, let's talk about terrible tops, because this one here, I call it the Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. This was panned. This was absolutely panned, and it turned out this has been Celtic's most successful selling Celtic home kit. Why?
It's madness.
Probably because it's a wee bit different. So the third top had come out late last night. Paul got a wee viewing of it in the flesh, and he confirmed this is 100% the top. He couldn't obviously take a photo because he was showing that interest. But here it is, Paddy, and again it's more barking marketing chat, where apparently it is about Celtic's roots, Irish roots, and it is to reflect the tricolour. Well, I think that Celtic have went to that Irish roots thing so much, and they've washed it out so much that they've washed all the colour out of this top. It kind of reminds me of, do you remember the April Fool's Bumblebee and hoops that was put out, and the players watched it, and it was kind of like wavy, and the Picasso in the bottom corner? It reminds me of that. Paddy, you're a top. You buy anything Celtic. Are you loving it or loathing it?
I kind of like it, if I'm being honest, mate. I like the top. The swimming shorts, I don't think go with it.
I like the swimming shorts, but I see them. They'll be on every single beach across Europe within the next week.
100%.
Right, and that's one thing I would say. I do like the shorts, by because they look like swim shorts, but not as swimmer shorts.
I know. I do like the top. Sponsorless, obviously, I think it looks decent. I'd wear that. It's something you could wear. A pair of jeans, a nice wee pair of trainers, and that. It's a nice top to kind of wear out. Do you know what I mean? I wear a Celtic top everywhere I go. So for me, this is one that looks kind of normal. Do you know what I mean? This is a kind of normal t-shirt for me.
See this one, what I think, and let's get up the glamour shot as well. I say glamour shot. It looks. I don't know what's going on there. It looks like some sort of athletic arm of University Challenge there,
Aye, definitely. Aye. Which is a specialist subject.
They look like a slightly athletic version of University Challenge there. But with this one, I think that it looks a bit peely-bally. It looks a bit washed out.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence with it. I'll have a wee look at it. I will. You know me, I'm a shirt collector, and I will obviously. I'm going to. Who am I kidding? I'll pick it up, right? But
You'll buy it. Of course you will.
I'll buy it simply for the collection, because I'll always try to keep the tops, as you well know. I am not mad on it. I think there's various things, but what I will say is it will sell. It will absolutely fly. One, because Celtic fans buy everything, but here's why I think it is very summery, and I know that sounds stupid. It is get holiday written all over it. I can see young kids wearing it. I can see guys, lassies, everybody in their early, teens, getting out holiday with the lads. Everybody wearing that big set of ridiculous green sunglasses and all that, Yeezys, whatever it is the youngsters wear. I don't know. Cutting about with that on in Ibiza, wherever they're going. That will fly, and I think that it will be one of these tops like this one that will absolutely fly with a younger generation, Paddy. I think that.
Speaking of younger generation, Steve, obviously I run the TikTok side of Celtic World Order as well, and I just so happened to put up a wee post with the top saying what's your thoughts on it, and it's gone absolutely chaotic.
Are they loving it? Are they loving it?
It's a bit of a mix. The kind of older guys on it, you can see the older generation hate it. They're not really happy with it, but the younger guys are all over it. They're
what do you think of that there? See what Barry's saying? It's decent, but still got the hoops, because if you were mistaken, if you hadn't actually seen Celtic's home top this, and you just knew roughly that Celtic were green and white, and you sent that to somebody who's not dialed in with Celtic, you might think, what have they done to Celtic's home top this year? Is it a bit too close to home, pun intended?
No, not for me. It's the third kit. It's the one. Obviously, we get a home kit and a away kit, and then we get the third kit that comes in with the different badge as well. I assume the away top is the black one that we've seen as well, with the kind of bumblebee stripes going across it, the thin stripes like the old Umbro top. So,
if I'm being honest, I think it's better than that one. I do actually.
Yes.
I mean, it's like asking if you want short stabbed, but I think it's better than the actual what's going to be the away top.
Yeah, I quite like it. I'll wear it, I'll buy it, and I'll probably buy the shorts as well, because that's just the type of guy I am. As you said it before, Steve, well, I'm the typical Celtic da. Soon as they release a top or a pair of trainers
on as well, full cap, blanker.
Yeah, that's me. I'm that guy, and I do it with pride.
Celtic Park for opening day with shinies on in case you need a game.
Exactly. I'll wear the Sambas. I'll get my green and white Air Jordans as well. I'll kick about with them on. Do you know what I mean?
There you go. Aye, but no, do you know what? This is it. Sanfan, it's a holiday kit. That's why he's going to sell.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, if you go on holiday within the next week, that is all over the airports, all over the poolside, it's all over everywhere. And these shorts are all over everywhere. I'm going to get them, and I'm going to wear them as swim shorts. There you go. Take that one to the bank.
Have that. Exactly. I hope they're see-through.
Absolutely. Wouldn't be seen much to worry about it. It's good to make fun of yourself on it.
Exactly.
Aye, but no, a wee bit of fun, wee bit of side note. It'll sell. It is what it is. More money coming in. Sign players. Get players signed for it.
Exactly.
And to finish off, Paddy, movement elsewhere. Johnny Kenny, 500k. Bolton have approached, they've rejected. Are they holding it for more money? Or it seems that the destination for Johnny Kenny is going to be destination loan.
Yes.
Where are you at with Johnny Kenny? And I know it's hard. I feel a wee bit sorry for the guy, because I like the wee flashes I saw him. But is loaning him out, is there much point in it? Like, is he ever truly going to be brought back and we go, yeah? Because he went to Shamrock, played brilliant, was killing it in the Conference League. How much more better is he going to get out on loan?
Exactly, mate. I don't think he's been given a big enough chance at Celtic. I don't think he's going to get that chance still going forward as well. I think by us bringing in players, and obviously by Daisen Maeda saying he wants to play main striker, obviously to help his chances with Japan. I don't see Johnny Kenny fitting in there. I don't see him getting that chance at Celtic. So going out on loan is probably going to be the best bet. I wouldn't be surprised if a team, Shamrock, even come back in for him.
Yeah. And there you go. 1 year left. What is the point? 1 year left. You know, we're talking about snapping up bargains Nygren, getting him in for cheap. Johnny Kenny, how much money are you really going to get from 1 year left in his contract? Someone's offering you $500,000 for him. Maybe even as much as you might squeeze an extra 150k out. I think just take it, because with Osman coming in, far younger, I think coming from much better stock. Again, Premier League 2, but playing against a right good sort of standard of young players. Again, I say the only thing you can't replicate is the noise and the pressures, but I think he'll come and he's instantly overtakes Johnny Kenny clearly, because we're looking at owning them out. But I think we just got to cut the ties with them if we don't want them, rather than if we just drag these guys out. We seem to accumulate and hold on to players, Paddy, rather than just making a decision.
Exactly, rather than keep him about. I don't want to call him Deadwood, because I do think there is a player in there. I think he's one of the guys that, if given a chance, he might make a stake for a place. But if Brendan doesn't see him fit enough for the squad, doesn't see him making a stance in there, then by all accounts, get rid. That's
absolutely. And to finish off, Paddy, because we've went full circle, we've spoke about bargains, we've spoke about price drops, we've spoke about what we can get, what we want to get. The other name that's coming in, the one that we were expecting, hopefully touchwood will fire through, was of course Ange Balakwisha at Antwerp. Again, all the reports early on, Celtic are approaching the player, they're discussing personal terms, he wants to move, so on and so forth. Then there was a wee spanner thrown in the works. Apparently they were wanting around about £6 million for him, which admittedly seems a bit rich for a guy who was in his last year's contract and they knew they wanted to sell. I think we were meant to generate about 35 million euros they were wanting, because of a wee bit of financial difficulty. But Celtic were stalling on it, because we were wanting to get a bargain. Again, I'll come back to the Milosevic. If you're talking 900k to get the man, go and do it. The Balakwisha, I would have argued that point as well. But good news for Celtic, because of a bargain, they have now dropped the price again and they want around the 5 million. So there you go, shaved £1 million off it. Maybe that's the fact that Celtic standing back did do that, but the actual wording of the report was that internal factors within Celtic themselves was what was holding up the deal. Is the internal factors tightness?
It sounds like it. The 1 million that was saved for Balakwisha, we can just put on to Milosevic and bring him in. That way we're getting the two players for pretty much what we're going to pay for one of them anyway. Balakwisha's one for me. This is another kind of exciting one. Brings a different dynamic, brings a lot of pace, brings driving forward, things like that. He's the one for me that I think is going to make a big difference, and I'd like to see this one get pushed across the line. I really would.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Paddy, it's been an absolute pleasure. A wee whistle-stop tour, as we says. Thanks to everybody that's taking the time to join us. It's just popped up out of nowhere, but that's sometimes how it works. When you get a wee bit of stuff to talk about, we want to seize the day and go and do it. So enjoy your weekend, whatever you're all doing. Paddy, we'll be back in the next week, is that correct? We'll have you in the flesh?
Yeah, I'm home on Friday, mate. Yep, so I'll be...
Love it.
In the flesh, yeah, definitely.
Love it, absolutely. Well, as we say, thank you very much. I wanted to, we've ran over maybe a wee 5 minutes more, because I didn't want to clash with our good friends, Liam Greenlaw and Phil. Of course, in case you don't know, that's been said there. There's many good content out there, and there's a new one, and it is, of course, friend of the show, Liam Greenlaw, Boys on the Bus. These guys are on right now. Get yourself ported over if you've not already checked him out. Give Big Liam and Phil some support, some good guys over there. So we're done for the night. You might as well
tell them Steve and Paddy sent you
and get more chat on the go. I tell them Steve and Paddy sent you. I'll be in the chat anyway, because I just sit and watch it. It's brilliant. You know, I do this and I come on, on the digits and sit and watch it as well. So anyway, listen, we are done for the night, but we will be back in due course. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe. Get us to that 2,000 mark before the new season kicks off. And until the next time, take care of yourself. And Paddy, it's been a long time since you've said that. Tell them.
As always, guys, hail, hail.
See you later. Bye-bye.